31-26, Colorado escapes with a win against North Dakota State. Closer than Colorado fans wanted. This one came down to the wire, but it is a win against a very scrappy team that has a winning record against FBS opponents.
Yeah, and frankly, a game that I don't think people should be disappointed about or worried about. I mean, I think this is the way a lot of us thought it was going to go. Closer than either of us predicted, but North Dakota State, this is what they do, right? And I know it's been a while since they've beaten those teams, but the last time they played an FBS team, they went down to Tucson and lost by 3. The previous 6 times, they beat them all. And so to win by 5 and really, yes, they had a shot there at the end, but you're up by 11 in the fourth quarter and gave up a touchdown Coach Prime was not happy about. But, I thought this is a game, just take it. You won the game and move on. There's going to be around college football some worse FCS teams that beat FBS teams this weekend and over the next couple of weeks. That's a really good football team. Number 2 in FCS. You take that win and say, all right, we got some things to work on, but that's a good win.
North Dakota State scored on their first 4 possessions. It wasn't until the second half that Colorado's defense started to settle in a little bit, and it was really the third quarter that was the reason that Colorado won this football game. They were able to force 3 straight North Dakota State punts, and that's when Colorado did kind of flip the score and get up by 11. And I think that was the most disappointing thing. And see, what Coach Prime was most disappointed was you go up 31-20, you have a chance to kind of put your foot on their throat, and they weren't able to do that. So that was obviously the first half was disappointing with the defense, and then also that drive late in the game as well.
Yeah, and typical of an opener, there's disappointing parts on both sides, right? Where you can be disappointed by the defense early, maybe the offense during a stretch that they didn't, add to that lead while the defense was getting all those stops. But the offense did come around to get a couple of scores and go up by 11, but you got to credit the defense, and for a first impression of Robert Livingston, I'm impressed by it. The first half of a first game of a team you don't have film of, and you give up some things, but then after that, you flip things around, your defense plays pretty well. I thought the in-game adjustments by Robert Livingston were pretty solid.
Still plenty to clean up on that side of the ball, though. Yeah. Offensively, Colorado over 500 yards, mostly through the air. Their leading rusher, Dallin Hayden, had 20 yards, so very similar to last year. But Travis Hunter with the hat trick, and sometimes you just get so used to what he can do. But that third touchdown, I need to go back and watch that like 10 times to figure out how he pulled that in.
Yeah, in fact, we were waiting for the press conference to start, and I showed you this photo that was online, and the NDSU guy had his arm wrapped around his neck, and Travis is reaching up and grabbing it. Like, how did he catch that football? It's one of those photos you look at and say, this ended in a touchdown. There's no way. And so that was pretty impressive. And Travis did a press conference tonight, so he talked. But I asked him about that, and he said, the previous one that I didn't catch, Shedeur was like, just catch it. You need to catch that ball. And Travis was like, I wasn't going to drop that one. And even with that coverage, and it was funny because later on, Shedeur was asked, is Travis open even when he's covered? And Travis leaned in and said, always. And it's hard to argue that when you see that play.
Travis gave a long answer to one of the questions you had when you asked him about Savion Riley stepping in for Cameron Silman-Craig, who got hurt. I think it was the first play of the game, right? He came back in briefly, but then was out for the rest of the game. And so we don't have an update there. But I think Travis just doesn't want to talk about himself, because when he was talking about the job that Cameron Silman-Craig did of mentoring Savion Riley to get him ready for this spot, he opened up and talked quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a great answer. He talked about how Cam took Savion under his wing all offseason and really kind of showed him the way and taught him a lot of things. And Travis said, we knew that if Savion's number was called, he was going to make that we didn't have to worry about him. He was going to be fine, and he was. I thought Savion Riley played a pretty good football game tonight. And you missed Cameron Silman-Craig, but I thought Savion played a good game. And it's hard to speculate on injuries, but just looking on the sidelines, it looked like maybe a concussion or a concussion scare with Cam Silman-Craig, because he's standing there looking healthy but not holding his helmet. That's usually a sign of a concussion. You don't want to speculate. I'm not saying that's what it is, but hopefully, whatever it is, hopefully he gets back soon.
Shedeur Sanders had one of the strangest interceptions that I've ever seen. He almost was basically throwing it at the ground. Yeah. It hits the NDSU State player in the leg, pops up, goes right to their guy in the end zone. Aside from that, he was pretty special out there tonight. 4 touchdowns, over 400 yards. And with this talent at the receiving group, it's pretty clear. We expected it was going to be the case, but defenses are just going to have an impossible challenge because maybe now Jimmy Horn goes for 198 yards. Maybe Nebraska's focused more on him, and then LeJontay Wester goes off for a couple hundred yards because I think it's going to be like that week to week. They're just going to pick on wherever they see that advantage.
Yeah, I'm going to take the blame for that interception on Shedeur because at halftime I was talking to the SID at CU, and I said, hey, Shedeur's streak without an interception is now third in CU history. He could move up to second, and he didn't because of that interception. So when that interception happened, it was literally like 5 minutes after he and I were just talking about it. I look back and he looked at me and he just shakes his head at me like, dang it. So I'll take a little bit of blame for that. But yeah, this is what happens in this offense is there's big nights for certain people. Travis is going to always have big nights. Jimmy can definitely have them, but 198 yards, tied for 7th most in a single game. I thought he was going to get 200 for sure, but came up just short of that. But huge game for him. And Coach Prime said he was just recently dealing with stuff with his father down in Florida, and to be able to flip that and have a game like that, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, we didn't see. We saw some of LeJontay Wester. We saw some of Will Shepherd. Those guys are going to break out at some point.
Yep. Offensive line, all eyes on them.
Yep.
It wasn't a perfect performance, but gosh, it was so much better than what we saw out of that group in most games last year. Last year's O-line actually started out the season pretty good, and then it just got worse as the season went along.
Yeah.
I would expect that this offensive line is going to go the other direction. But, the end result is Shedeur Sanders gets sacked just one time. Yeah. You're going to take that every week because it was disastrous last year. You'll take that.
You'll take that. He did take some pretty big shots, especially in the first half. And he had a good answer to that, saying, hey, I haven't really been hit since November, which he really hasn't. I mean, the play that knocked him out against Washington State was the last time he got hit before tonight. And so, he took some shots tonight, but I thought the offensive line cleaned it up a little bit in the second half. But, yeah, there's still some work to be done. I agree with you that I think that group, more so than last year, is going to be better as the season goes along. You would hope, because they couldn't run the balls as well tonight. And Nebraska had 8 sacks against him last year, even in a blowout by CU. So they're going to come after him next week for sure.
Colorado gets the ball back, 2:19 left, and I think every Colorado fan was at home screaming at the TV, run the football. Colorado didn't. You asked Coach Prime about it after the game.
Yeah, and he said, hey, we got to do what the defense gives us. He's like, did you see the passing game tonight? And I do understand that. There's times, I'm going to disagree with the coach a little bit, but I do understand they couldn't run the ball that well tonight. But I will say this: it's one of those things they better fix. That's a situation that I understand tonight. Maybe that wasn't going to work. It probably would have taken some clock off a little bit, but I understand it probably wouldn't have been as effective tonight. They were running the ball, but they better fix that because if they're going to be in those situations, you want to be able to run the football, turn that clock down a little bit, and they weren't able to do that tonight. That gave NDSU a chance. That last play ended up at the 4-yard line, so NDSU was 4 yards away from winning this game in theory. But CU's got to fix that part.
Yep. Chidozie Wenko, first sack as a Buff, and then who else got credited with a sack? Bentley, yeah. Levanta Bentley. That's right. So there's quite a bit to shore up defensively.
Yeah.
Got to get the ground game going offensively. Special teams, there wasn't a whole lot to report on there. Mata made his one short field goal. Yep. There weren't any returns. Mark Vassett did his job on his couple short punts. Anything else in terms of looking ahead to kind of concerns about this Colorado team and things they need to shore up?
No, I think we hit most of them, but it's one of the things we talk about it almost every year. It's like it's one game. I don't want to go too high or low with some of these concerns. I think there's a lot of kinks that get worked out, and I go back to what I said initially that this is a really good team. I know it's FCS, but that's a really good opponent they just beat, and legitimately a national title contender at the level right below you. So that's not a bad football team. I think this was a really good game for Colorado to work out some kinks, to learn from, and to kind of get their feet wet a little bit. And to do that in a win, you take that every time.
There's really no gimmies on this entire schedule.
No.
Just win the football game.
Right.
And, yeah, I know there's going to be some things that frustrate folks about decisions and whatnot and the ground game not getting going, but that's kind of just got to be the mentality with this schedule because there's going to be a lot of close, entertaining football games these next 11 games.
Yeah, there really is. And I look at their schedule. I don't see a gimme win. I don't see a sure loss. Last year I looked at it and said, yeah, those are some sure losses there, and they lost them. But I don't see. There's a lot of toss-up games basically, and so yeah, you just take them. You get a win, and as Coach Prime said, he said it to us, but he also got on the PA at the end of the game and thanked the fans, everything, and said, "And Miss Peggy, we got you one step closer to the goal of getting to that bowl game." And so hey, 1-0. You only need 5 more wins.
Yeah, all right. We'll be headed out to Lincoln next week, and the Buffaloes will be going out there, like you said, Brian, 1-0.